Hey, my friends, hope you're doing well and you're excited for summer. Kids are probably getting out of school here. You're getting ready for whatever your adventures are going to be this summer. And we're excited to have some time together as a family. My oldest one graduates, which is bananas. But anyhow, life is good. We're very grateful and we're still able to get outside, enjoy some beautiful weather, and spend time together as a family, which is awesome. We've got a couple new posts out on Substack on Truer Measure. The last one was about choosing your table, where you're going to spend your time and the life that you want to live. So that's up there. You can check that out. But let's get into some real estate. What's happening in our market? When we're looking at our market, there's a few things to take a look at, especially as we're heading here into our summer season. We're going to take a peek back at last month's numbers as we look at May and what our numbers are telling us. In general, we know our real estate markets, they follow along with the weather. As our weather warms up, so does our market. It speeds up, we start to see some sales, and our prices generally increase so that we're peaking out in our pricing somewhere around that May to July area. And again, it's not an exact science, but it's kind of this roller coaster that we see happen. As we're looking at our market right now, let's take a look at our Edmonton in general market. What's the market if you encompass all of the surrounding neighborhoods in Edmonton, and then we're going to drill down specifically into St. Albert, but for taking everything in and around Edmonton, what's the story that's being told? Essentially, the story that's being told is we have a strong market. From across Canada, we have a good, robust market that's still performing well, that we're seeing some strength and even multiple offers in some scenarios, but it's a market that has pockets where everything's not going to go so smoothly. Let's take a peek and we'll show you some of what I mean about that. So in general, our real estate market, when we're looking at our inventory, if looking back last month, we had 7,844 units. So that's how many properties were available. And then we sold 2,557 units. We take our inventory, we divide that by our sales, and that gives us 3.1 months of inventory for the Edmonton market, which is still good. Generally, we're somewhere around the 3 to 4 months of inventory. That puts us towards a balanced market. We're still under 4, so we're still technically a seller's market. Our sales, those are up 3% month over month, and they're down 13% year over year. So we're seeing a little bit of our sales decrease there. The amount of new listings that were coming to the market, we saw a 22% increase in the new listings that came to market. That was an increase of 3% also year over year. So year over year, starting to see things climb up. Our inventory was climbing up. Our sales climbed up a little bit, but year over year, they weren't quite the same level. The year prior was quite strong. 3.1 months of inventory. We're in a seller's market. We're starting to see some inventory climb. We're starting to see the sales still staying steady, but not to the same level that we saw last year. When we're looking at our average days on market, we're seeing that increase as well in the Edmonton area. So we're sitting at 33 days for our average days on market, where the year prior was 27. So we're starting to see some increasing there, which means maybe we're starting to see some softening on some pricing, but nothing that's leading us to believe we're going to see pricing take a big dip. I think we're going to see things remain relatively stable. And let's take a look specifically at pricing right now. When we're looking at our detached home pricing, what we're going to see is we've got an average price over $600,000 for the average home here in the Edmonton and surrounding area at $606,000, which is up 3% month over month and up 5% year over year. We did have a really big sale. Actually, it was out here in St. Albert that was $3.995 million, and that's pushing up some of our average pricing. So we might see some average pricing slip back a little bit next month when we're looking back at June's numbers. But right now, we've seen that number crest over $600,000, which is a big number. So we've seen that prices increase there for our single-family detached home. Our semi-detached half-duplex style properties, those are sitting at $433,000, which is up 2% month over month and down 1% year over year. So no huge movement, staying relatively stable. And similarly for our row and townhomes, which are at $309,000 for the average price point, which is down 1% month over month and up 1% year over year. Again, relatively stable. Our apartment style condos, those ones change, right? We're usually around that $200,000. Sometimes it goes a bit higher if we see some big sales. Our highest apartment condo sale we saw this month was $795,000. It wasn't a giant number, but still, that's a big number for an apartment style condo. But our average price point now, we're at that $206,000 for a condo, which is down 9% month over month. The month prior was a big month. And then we're down about 4% year over year. So those will generally stay around that $200,000 mark for apartment style condos in and around Edmonton. Now let's look at St. Albert. What is St. Albert telling us? And you've seen, we've got the 3 months of inventory. We've seen some activity in the Edmonton general area, and we can take that and put a blanket over everything and say everything performs this way. But in fact, it doesn't. You'll drill into specific neighborhoods where you're going to see in Edmonton less than a month of inventory. You're going to see properties continually in multiple offers, and then you'll head into some different neighborhoods, and then you're going to see things sitting for 4, 5, 6 months even. So where there's a lot of inventory built up there. So when we take a broad picture, we can say this in general is how we're doing. We're in a strong market. It's not a crazy market with hair on fire, but it's a relatively balanced market. Still, it's somewhat sellers. And when we're looking at St. Albert would be like a drill in where we're looking specifically at a community, and the community here is quite strong. The current active properties as of today, we've got 99 active, less than 100 active properties, 38 are pending. And the month prior, we had 106 and then 31 that were pending. So we're seeing that inventory come down just about 6% month over month. And then our sales are sitting at 116 for the month prior, looking back at May. And then for that was 99, and the year prior was 119. So we're up about 14% for our sales, down about 2% year over year, but still relatively close there. As we mentioned before, we did have that really big sale out in Kingswood here in St. Albert, just under $4 million. And that's pushing some of those average price points, because when we look at the average price of a single family detached home here in St. Albert, that's at $670,000, which is a big number. And I think we'll see some adjustments as we move to the next month, because last month our average price was $612,000, which was the same as we had last year, was $612,000. And so another thing we'll look at this month specifically is going to be our median price. The median price this month was $608,000. And last month it was $590,000. So we're still seeing that increase. We're still seeing that push. We're still seeing the prices increase, where year over year and month over month, we're up about 8% here in St. Albert. But again, expect those numbers to change next month because of that really big sale. Our low sale here in St. Albert was a $346,000 home in Sturgeon Heights. So we've got months of inventory here. When we take those active 99 properties and we've got those 116 sales, so we've got less than a month of inventory. We've got 0.85 months of inventory here in St. Albert. And that means if you're out here looking for a property, you've probably been in multiple offers. If you're trying to find a property that's going to be under $600,000, which over 50% of our home sales being in that price range, and then 35% were in that $600,000 to $800,000 range, if you're in that, you're probably fighting for a good property, unless the property, maybe it's been overpriced. And that's the big challenge. When you get into markets like this and you can see things rising, the challenge might be, let's say my property, I think it's about a $500,000 property, but let's price it at $550,000 just in case we catch that magical person to come in here and make us a wild offer. When you're doing that, you're putting yourself outside of your market. You're putting yourself outside of what anybody is really wanting to pay for your home. And what ends up happening is you end up sitting and you end up chasing that market back down to maybe where your value was, or you end up going lower than where your true value was. So the smartest thing to do in these kind of markets is find where your market value is, land there, and then see if you can get a sale. Maybe you'll get more than one offer in, who knows, or maybe you're going to get one offer, or maybe it takes a bit of time, but at least if you're there, you're making the right play and you're getting yourself in the right position to get the best value for your home. Now, I know I went through a lot of information, a lot of data there, but let me know if you've got any specific questions. Maybe your neighborhood specifically, you're wondering, what's my neighborhood like in Edmonton or St. Albert or Spruce Grove or Sherwood Park, whatever that's going to be. What's my neighborhood like? Send me a message. I can get you some specific neighborhood information. But this is a general overview of how our market is. The theme, again, is going to be steady and strong. We've got a steady market where you can drill down into some communities like St. Albert here, and you're going to see a lot of strength and you're going to see a lot of competition. And it's time to make some smart decisions as you're moving forward as we head into summer. So, my friends, I hope you enjoy your summer. I hope you get to spend some time outside walking your dog and sitting on a beach somewhere. And I hope it's a great time for you. All right. Thanks so much for watching again, my friends, and we'll see you again in a month. Bye-bye.